I've got 2 children with ADHD and autism. I had a brother who was at war at the time in the British Army and his camp was getting bombed. I had a close friend of mine who, aged 35, went to bed and didn't wake up. She died overnight. There was just so much stuff that happened in my personal life around the same time. I felt inadequate. I felt incapable. I felt I had no self-worth. I had no self-belief, no self-confidence. Everything about me felt destroyed, and I just could not see a way out of this situation. I had to put on a performance in the workplace. I had to be this, really high kind of profile person, and I had to be, automotive is very male driven. It's very dominant, very direct. And I kind of became that person, and that actually, in reality, is not me. That was a mask I was wearing. So I decided to remove the mask.
Hi, Angela. Thank you very much for joining me on Success Matters podcast. You've been writing a lot on LinkedIn recently about burnout and moving from burnout into success. So let's start with your story, right? How did you find yourself in this position of writing about burnout, but actually, I'm assuming you went through a burnout yourself?
Yeah, I did go through a massive burnout, really. And it was a balance of, well, balance is probably actually the wrong word, because it was imbalance that created the burnout,
Right.
which was a mixture of my professional life and my personal life and kind of coming together in a really bad way. There was just so much things going on in my life. But if I talk you through a couple of examples of both that kind of led to the burnout.
Sure.
On the professional side, I was working at Bentley Motors at the time, an incredible career. I'd been there for 9 years, absolutely loved it. Amazing products, amazing people, amazing experiences of traveling the world. But I went off and had my second baby, came back after maternity leave, and the world had changed. So it was new board members, it was new, and it had a new line manager, it was a new remit, everything had changed. And I just felt a little bit out of place. Obviously, you kind of do when you come back off maternity leave anyway. But then slowly but surely, it was just too much. I just couldn't cope with the volume of commuting and the traveling and all the other things that was kind of expected. And I just started to feel that corporate world probably wasn't for me anymore. I couldn't cope with what was happening and how I was feeling. But it mainly, again, came from that personal imbalance as well. I've got 2 children with ADHD and autism. I had a brother who was at war at the time in the British Army and his camp was getting bombed. I had a close friend of mine who, aged 35, went to bed and didn't wake up. She died overnight. There was just so much stuff that happened in my personal life around the same time. And then COVID happened. And all of these things completely changed my life and me. And I just got to the point one day where I was having panic attacks all the time. I was literally couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't talk. I just wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
So I took time off work. I said, I literally have had a breakdown. I can't cope. I'm in this massive burnout. Had 6 weeks off work. Bentley were amazing during that time. Kind of, I got great sick pay and things. And then furlough. So then I had 8 weeks on furlough. And actually that worked out to be really well and really good because I wasn't ready to go back at that after the 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But over that time, I then made this decision to change my life, to leave the corporate career. And then that's where this whole new world came of this burnout without brilliance, which again, I'm sure we'll talk about later on.
Right. Okay. So that's a lot going on all at the same time in your life. What sort of period was this over that you had kind of that all these things coming at you? I mean, the kids with the autism and ADHD, of course, that's there. But all of the other factors that were in your personal life over and above that, was that all like within a space of like a few weeks, or was it that it was kind of like the slow drip of all of these things happening?
Over the course of a few months. So I returned to work, I think in October 2019. And then I went off with the burnout in March 2020. So literally just as COVID was happening was when I just completely could not cope with life anymore. And I went off work.
Right. Okay. Do you have like feelings of inadequacy or that sort of thing you did?
I had many feelings, really. I felt inadequate. I felt incapable. I felt I had no self-worth. I had no self-belief, no self-confidence. Just everything about me felt destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just could not see a way out of this situation. And my friends and my family just didn't know this version of me. They've known me for obviously a long time.
Yeah.
And they're looking at me and wondering I don't know how to help her. I don't know how to get that positive, vibrant person back because I was literally nowhere near that anymore.
Okay. So how did you actually do that transformation? Okay, quitting your job is one thing,
Mm.
but all of that psychological, mental trauma, everything that's associated with that, what did you do to overcome that and kind of heal that part of you?
It started with my best friend. So my best friend really kind of encouraged me to start counselling. And I was always against counselling because I always had this belief that, oh, you have to be really bad to go to counselling. And I'm not really bad. And I'd always kind of rejected that opportunity to go to counselling. And she spent months and months, even leading up to that burnout, trying to persuade me. And I finally thought, well, I've not really got anything to lose because I've got nothing. I can't cope on my own. But I've had a lot of really difficult experiences in my childhood as well. So neglect and abuse in my childhood. So counselling kind of unlocked all of that. And it started from going way back. And actually, that then gave me a lot of insight into why I was so triggered and so overwhelmed, because a lot of it was triggers from childhood that
Right.
had kind of started to creep in when I think I was 39 at the time. It started to kind of creep in. And apparently, that's quite a thing that a lot of people lock up in the brain, all that stuff that happens. And then they get to 40 and it does, your brain cannot cope anymore with those things. It can't keep it in. It can't keep it in that lockbox anymore.
Mm.
So again, that was like another layer. It wasn't just the professional, the personal. It was all of this hidden childhood stuff as well that was impacting. So counselling was one thing that was absolutely mega, massively changed my belief system and made me feel a lot more confident in understanding. It gave me rationale as to why I was being the way that I was being and why I was feeling the way I was feeling. The second thing was actually revealing the mask or taking the mask off.
Okay.
I'd always felt like I had to put on a performance in the workplace. I had to be this, really high kind of profile person, and I had to be, automotive is very male driven. It's very like dominant, very direct, and I kind of became that person. And that actually, in reality, is not me. That was a mask I was wearing. So I decided to remove the mask, be authentic, be true to myself, be honest, open up to friends and family about genuinely how I was actually feeling. And all of those things, and the furlough period of having nothing else in my life apart from my two children, my husband, and my house with nobody else in it, in a really simple routine, that's what really started to help me to rebuild and change who I was.
Oh, right. Okay. So furlough in many ways helps because it
Yeah,
strips it back to just, as you said, the core four of
yeah,
you and
yeah,
the day-to-day routines that you had, which is
yeah,
interesting because COVID actually affected people's mental
yeah.
health often in a negative fashion
Hmm.
because they lost that regularity of their going to work and doing
Yeah.
all those things. But for you, it actually works out pretty well. So
Hmm.
that's quite a good outcome really
Yeah.
from that perspective. Um, how easy or hard was it for you to first open up and show that vulnerability?
Very, very hard. Very hard. And I'd been with my husband for 25 years. We started dating when I was 17, and I hadn't told him anything about any of my childhood stuff until I was 39. So 20, I can't do the maths, but 23 years until I opened up to him about, I hadn't told my best friends or anybody. So it was massive for me to open up. And I hadn't realized how closed I always was. Everyone always saw me as an open book because that's who I portrayed. So I would portray myself as this, oh, I'll tell you these silly stories of oh gosh, I fell down at the weekend. And I'd say like all of these silly things to like build relationships and appear open.
Yeah.
But actually, I never really opened up about anything that was deep or, all of your belief system to anybody, nobody at all. So it was really, really hard. But genuinely, it's the best thing I've ever done. And it's the best thing that I do with my clients because as you've said on my LinkedIn and all my socials, I am so authentic about all of my mistakes, all the issues I've had, things that have worked for me, celebrating my pride bits and bits I've achieved and not feeling like afraid.
Hmm.
And I've had so many lovely DMs from people who genuinely open up to me because they say, you've given me bravery.
Right.
I have clients open up to me because they feel they are safe with me because I'm telling them all the raw things about me. And it's been, well, just a game changer. It massively has changed my life for the better, being open. I don't
Yeah.
feel fear anymore like I felt before.
Right. Yeah. Your story reminds me of a book that I read not so long ago, and actually, you don't read this book. You actually go through doing the exercise in it called Homecoming, where the author kind of asks you to go back in time to well, from the moment you're born, really, and write about everything that was happening around you in these different periods. And for me, that was quite self-reflective. Actually, I
Mm.
recognized that I would too have been holding things in from my childhood and have affected me now. You know, I've just turned 60, so it's there a long time. It sticks with you, and
Mm.
your so much of what you do, your belief system, everything that you is about you often comes from just those small things that happen then that, you know, just project forward. So yeah, it's amazing that you recognize that you've managed to do something with that. What's your business now then? So you left the corporate world, you went
Mhm.
through this period, and now you're helping other businesses to avoid the similar sort of
To be
situation.
brilliant
To
without
be
burnout.
brilliant.
That's his whole
Okay.
strap line that I'm saying. And it's again, it's a little bit of a tale around that because my husband and I actually set the business up. I think it was about 17 years ago, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And we set it up together, and it was all about me going out. I wanted to do more in the world. I wanted to work with more clients, do more things. So I did a graduate position for 2 years, and then I went out doing consultancy very early on in my career when I look back. And during that time, I absolutely loved it, did a lot of things, learned a lot, had a baby, and then I thought, it's actually quite hard to like maintain an income level when I've got a baby because I just want to be with my baby, but I've got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
And I thought, I, I can't really balance the two things. And then magically, I got this phone call off Bentley and got headhunted for a position.
All right.
So I went to Bentley, kept the business like dormant. So it was still open on Company's House, but kind of dormant. I wasn't trading. And then during that time of the furlough, and then I was in Bentley for another 3 months during my voluntary redundancy period before I exited. I then just decided that, well, why not give it a go again? Why not, go back into the SME world? I've got so much more experience now with all the corporate side. I've got a lot of value to offer. And actually, if I can really work with these SMEs, that's going to make such a difference to the UK on growing these businesses, growing these innovative businesses, and giving them belief in their own way that they're going to take their own growth.
Right.
So started working on a government program and was working with SMEs, started working with 3 different universities, working with SMEs, and then started slowly building more and more private clients to work with. So that was 5 years ago that I started doing that.
All right. Okay. So so how do you help these organizations? What's within your kind of kit bag of things that you bring to them that helps them be more brilliant?
So what I specialize in is helping them to have a direction. So what is the strategy for their business? Where are they taking that business? I help them with the people, getting people energized and excited and capable about doing those new things in the business. I help them to get better cultures, so better energy around the business, better morale and motivation, feeling like it's a great place to actually work. And I also look at communication and process. So everything that's like the people-y side of growth, because my degree and my master's were in business. And then I've got all of this kind of corporate experience, SME experience, and a lot of wraparound around coaching. So actually that blend of stuff creates quite a unique proposition for clients.
Right. Okay. And do you have like a particular client that kind of sticks in your mind that you think, oh yeah, we took them from this point to this point, and that's how their trajectory is now going?
There's quite a few, to be honest, that I'm really proud of. But one of the ones I'd say is from one of my first kind of private clients who I started working with probably 4 years ago-ish, something like that. And they're a smaller business. They've got 20 staff. And when I first started working with them, they didn't have a strategy, they didn't have a direction. The staff were really demotivated. They were talking about they felt victimized, they felt bullied, they felt they just didn't get joy at work, they didn't know what they were trying to achieve in the workplace. And that was the starting point of working with them. And over the years, I've worked with them to reshape their culture. We did a employee satisfaction survey at the beginning, and it increased by 11% in a year, which is huge. We set up a culture club. So now there's people in the business who are looking at the culture. They're owning these employee improvements themselves. I work with the management team on the capability, on the leadership skills, and I work with everybody in the business to shape the strategy. So now everybody feels connected to the strategy because they've all defined it and designed it together. So now it's lighter touch that I do with them. I do some management training. I still run the culture club, and I do some coaching with the leaders of the business. So it's quite light touch now.
Right.
But over that journey, all of those words of victimization and bullying, it's now we love what we do. We really believe in the values. We really feel at home here. We really love what we're doing. So the words of how they describe the workplace have completely changed.
Okay. How do you make sure that you don't end up back in a burnout position with the work that you're doing now?
I've got to be very mindful about that. So there's quite a few things that I put into place. And the main thing is routine. And that's where, coming back to the COVID piece, that helped me to think about what do I want my routine to be? Because then it wasn't influenced by anything. I wasn't working. I didn't have children to take to school. It's just us. So that helped me to establish some better routines and habits. Things like I meditate every night. I enjoy doing journaling once a week. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm always trying to drink water. I try to eat healthily, but there are takeaways and things in there. I'm not as good on the eating side. But another thing that I do is check in with myself. So where am I? Do I feel I have like it's called the well-being wheel. So I know what's my red indicators that it's burnout, what's my amber indicators of a warning sign, and what's the green that I'm in joy. I've mapped those out. And at the end of every week, I'll kind of track, well, am I on green, amber, or red? And if I'm knowing that I'm edging towards amber, then I need to up the things that help me to reduce or remove burnout.
Right. Okay. So that wheel that you've described, is that something you've developed yourself, or is it something
Yeah.
that's kind of an online?
It's something I've developed myself, and it's part of the kind of toolkit that I use with my clients. So I'll often check in with them as well. Where are you on the wellbeing wheel? And that language and that quick understanding is a really good and simple check-in tool for everybody. Everybody can design their own wellbeing wheel, and you can check in with your teams as well. Make it common practice to do that. Because if you're trying to do, say, a strategy day, or you're trying to solve a really complex problem and everyone in your team is in the red zone, you're probably not going to be able to do that thing. So
Yeah.
doing something mindful, having a walk, having a coffee, go outside for a little bit, those things will just reset, and that you're more likely then to achieve whatever the purpose is for that day or that meeting anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas people don't tend to do that. They tend to they can see everybody's looking stressed or looking towards burnout, and they're just like, just got to keep going, just got to keep going. But that
Yeah.
mentality is not going to help in the long run.
No, that's true. It's kind of like you see in the movies, the kind of Romans who are whipping the slaves to keep on rowing. It's
Yeah.
kind of that, right?
Yeah,
They can
yeah.
only row so much before
Mm-hmm.
they collapse, and so you
Mm-hmm.
got to give them those breaks and those moments.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, this is called Success Matters, and what's your view of success? You talked about having that mask on when you were kind of in the corporate world,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've removed that mask. Has your view of success changed over time, and what was it before with the mask, and what is it now without the mask?
Oh, a good question. I think with the mask, it was about what other people could see as success. I worked at an amazing brand. I drove an amazing car. I lived in a nice house. I've got a long-term successful relationship. I looked confident. I was young as a leader. I achieved really great results with my degree, with my master's. That was what success meant to me. How could I prove myself to the world that I do have a place in the world, and I am good, and I am, delivering value to people. It was all external. Whereas now, obviously, I have those things, but that's not what meaning or success means to me anymore. Success to me means when I get to go and see my children, and I get to put my youngest to bed every night, and he is my favorite time of the whole night because I've created balance in my life through having my own business.
Mm-hmm.
Success to me means being authentic, putting all of that stuff on social media about I've had a great week or I've had a rubbish week, or I've started doing a series actually on a Friday called Beat Burnout with Angela. And I put like little things of what I'm doing to beat burnout. So success for me means leaving a lasting legacy that's helping other people to be successful, to not go through burnout, and for more and more people to have joy in the workplace. That's what success means to me nowadays.
Right. When you say you used to drive a nice car and you work for Bentley, was it actually a Bentley that you got as a company car?
Everybody asks that. So you didn't get it as a company car, but I did used to drive a lot because I used to run company product launch events. So run product launch events all over the world. So we launched the SUV. That was actually quite a career highlight, to be honest. But I used to often run track events, off-road events. So I was always driving Bentleys and competitor cars like Ferraris, Lamborghinis. Drove them a lot, but I get really sick on a track because the speed makes me feel sick.
Yeah.
And when I go off-road, I'm not a good driver. And when you drive in a vehicle that's worth hundreds of thousands of pounds and you're taking it down a cliff edge like this,
Yes.
it's pretty scary. But my company car was normally an Audi.
Right. Okay. So Angela, I have a tradition in my podcast that I borrowed from another very famous podcast where I ask a previous guest for a question for my next guest. My last guest asked a very light-hearted, maybe a difficult question, actually, depending
okay.
on what you think of it. His question was, what is for dinner tonight?
Oh. So as bad as this is going to sound to the listeners, it's going to be McDonald's. And the reason for that is because I'm taking my nephew and my son we to the park, and we do this thing called squirrel nut fights. So we have these monkey nuts that we feed the squirrels with, and we have a fight with the nuts, which my nephew loves doing. And I said to him, I'll take him out for tea. What would he like to have? And he said McDonald's. So we do something called a McNick, which means we get the McDonald's and we take it to the park and we have a picnic in the park with McDonald's. So that's what we're doing for tea.
A McNick. That's cool. Yeah. So do you also then have the monkey nut fight at the same time as you're having this picnic?
I think he would like to do that, but no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to take them, and then it starts off a little bit gentle, and then they do get a little bit vicious when you go with boys. So then I'll just kind of stand in the background and let them do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Boys do get quite boisterous, right, when it comes to these sorts of things. Okay, so it's McDonald's tonight for dinner, which is cool. Yeah, nothing wrong with that, especially when you're treating your kids good. My previous guest actually is a nutritionist, which is why he asked that question. And
he won't be happy with my answer then.
Yeah, he won't be happy with the answer. Well, maybe he'll say, actually, that's fine, because once in a while you want to have these sorts of treats or so.
You can blame my nephew; he chose it.
There you go. Yeah, you're keeping your nephew happy.
Yeah.
So, Angela, do you have a question for my next guest?
I do. Yeah. So my question is, what's your favorite item in your desk drawer?
Oh, what's your favorite item in your desk drawer? Okay. What's your favorite item?
I'm going to get my favorite item once I go.
Okay. So
my favorite item is Post-it notes.
Post-it notes.
I am so well known for Post-it notes. They honestly give me joy. I can't tell you how much joy I get from Post-it notes. And these are super sticky Post-it notes, which are even better because when I'm running events, I use a lot of kind of Post-it notes in my events. Yes. When you're using them as normal ones, they fly off the wall if you kind of open the door or you slightly walk past it. So super sticky Post-it notes are my favorite thing in my desk drawer.
Super sticky Post-it notes. Yeah. I mean, when I'm facilitating workshops and I like to use the Post-it notes as well where possible. Although I've gone on to more recently, and it doesn't fit in the desk drawer, is you get these really big flip charts sheets with the Post-it note sticky glue on the back at the top, so you can peel it off the flip chart and stick it to the wall. So then your next one is there. So
this
you might want to try those out.
Upgrade.
They're really
handy. You can only imagine the excitement I'll have when I whip that one out. I put it on the wall.
It's brilliant. You can't beat it.
I love it.
So if people want to get in touch with you to find out more, to take their business to brilliance, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
And there's a few routes, but what I would recommend is LinkedIn because I post I post nearly every day on LinkedIn. So it's LinkedIn/in/Angela Hodgson, and Hodgson is Hodgson because most people spell it wrong. So that's the primary way that I would suggest that for people to get in contact with me.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, it's been a great conversation, Angela. Thank you very much for sharing your journey, your story, and being open about the challenge you faced early on, in your career. So yes, thank you very much for taking part in Success Matters.
Thank you so much. And as a little gift for the listeners who have been listening along, I actually have a little free gift for everyone, which is a little quiz that is called, Is Your Business Burnt Out? So that will help you to identify, is it burnt out or what are those indicators? Right. And it leads to this pack called the Business Brilliance Blueprint, which is also free. And hopefully that'll give the listeners just some of the tips and insights I've shared today to help them for free identify how they can make their business brilliant. So thank you so much for your time. I've really, really enjoyed being part of your podcast.
to find your success, contact me at info@successmatterscoaching.com. That's info@successmatterscoaching.com.